Ashley Lunkenheimer, and then you'll have 2 minutes. And then the response for a minute will be Margot Davidson and Molly Sheehan. And the question is this. Today, we are 27th in the world in access to preschool. Do you think this is an issue? If so, how would you go about improving this statistic and making preschool a viable option for all Americans? Preschool is an issue in Delaware County. It's also an issue in the Philadelphia portion that you'll be representing. How would you go about doing that? Ashley.
Thank you very much. I spent time as the chair of a Montessori preschool in Philadelphia. And my goal as that chair was it was a startup preschool, it had only been around a few years, was to create financial aid program so that every kid could have access to preschool. The reason why is because we know that a child who gets access to preschool education will hear 40 million more words than a child who doesn't have access to that when they start kindergarten. The exponential disadvantage that a child has by not having a preschool education is unbelievable, and it is a permanent, lifelong thing. It's hard to overcome for these kids. So I absolutely support universal pre-K, and I think it should be publicly funded and available to all of our children. Children should not have their lives determined in terms of their education just on their parents' ability to access preschool. So we need to make that a priority, and education is truly, it is the greatest crime prevention tool that we have, that along with healthcare, and it is also the greatest tool to make sure that every person, when they grow up, can support their families the way all of us want to be able to support our families. So that should be a priority. It needs to be enacted by Congress. It needs to be available to all people so that every child can have that opportunity. And I think that should be one of our greatest priorities in Congress in this next term. Thank you very much.
The next response goes to Margot Davidson, so let's give Ms. Davidson the chance to have the microphone. And Margot, you have 1 minute.
There are two things that are irrefutable in the area of public education. One is that there's huge disparities about education quality as it relates to income. Number two is the only thing that levels the playing field is pre-K education. Those two things are irrefutable. All the research bears this out. And so I've been a strong advocate, even before I was in the legislature, for early childhood education. While I was in the legislature, I'm a member of the Early Education Caucus, and we have fought to increase the number of slots for universal pre-K, for pre-K education for all students. As a congressperson, I have the requisite skills and experience to get it done in Congress because of what I've been able to do in the legislature, building alliances on both sides of the aisle to make sure we increase early education for all of our children. That's the only thing that will level the playing field, and I've been about it since before I was in the legislature. Thank you.
And the last 1 minute goes to Molly Sheehan. And you candidates have been so well, we haven't had the annoying buzzer ring out one. So Molly Sheehan, your 1 minute.
So the first 5 years of a kid's life are the most vulnerable years, and the years that we absolutely need to invest in our children. And education really starts at day one. It starts with having paid family leave for mothers and for fathers, so fathers also get a chance to have a robust relationship with their babies. That's also so important. It's making sure we have tax subsidies that track with the actual cost of child care for daycare and preschool. I meet so many families on the campaign trail. Both parents are working and they struggle to pay for daycare. When I was in college, I was a nanny only during the summers, but I worked for women who only worked during the summer even though they wanted to because they couldn't afford daycare during the year. And it's really a hindrance. I'm also for federally funded universal pre-K, and I think as we move to expand pre-K, we need to make sure that we keep the corporatization of our pre-K out of our schools. There's a lot of conversations in Philadelphia about ed tech and people trying to test our 4-year-olds, and we need to make sure that pre-K really is about nurturing our children, not about commodifying them, not about getting big data on our kids. So absolutely, we need to fund the first 5 years of kids' lives.
Now let's turn the questioning back over to